Couple of side notes regarding the $12.5 billion purchase of the Lakers by Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Kushner is the brother of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Lakers owner Mark Walter is facing a federal investigation for alleged tax fraud involving 2 insurance companies that he owns. The investigation could be a factor in Walter's decision to sell the Lakers. The sale has to be approved by the NBA Board of Governors. The next owners' meeting is in September in New York City. Russell Westbrook, one of the most productive and dynamic guards in NBA history, announced his retirement. The LA native played 11 of his 18 seasons with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Westbrook was a 9-time All-Star and holds the record for most career triple-doubles with 209. He also has the single-season record for triple-doubles with 42 in 2016 and 17, the year he was voted MVP. Westbrook will be a first-ballot Hall of Famer in 2031. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
We going. My pants poster sad. We going ultra. Yeah. We going ultra black. I got a toast to that. We don't fold the crack. We going. Occasion we rose to that. Going postal. We going ultra black. Watching the global change. Hop in the coldest range. Hit boy on the beat. This poster slap. We going ultra black. We going. Rhythm and blues, pop, rock, soul to jazz, till my toes attack. How I look being told, I'm not supposed to brag. Nobody fault, I tell the truth, I know what's facts. We ultra black. Grace Jones, skin tone, but multi that. Multiple colors, we come in all shades, mocha black. Except where I'm at and not fight me on it. Emotional stares like I might be wanted. Pitch black like the night, I'm mocha black. Sanford and Son reruns, jokes are black. Oh yes, God bless success. We going ultra black, like the S is fast. Talk with a mask on, the freshest breath. African black soap, caress the flesh. Superfly the Mac, sitting fly in the lack. Take the boat on the water, history talks with my daughter.
KBLA Talk 1580. We always ultra black around here. Yes, indeed. Who said the East Coast and the West Coast can't work together? Ultra black. That's ultra black right there. Okay, so speaking of black, one of the things I would like to focus on this hour is what I call the mystery of the black Republican, the mystery of the black MAGA, and we have an African-American Republican joining us this hour he doesn't consider himself MAGA, but yet he doesn't abandon his party. It's a conversation we've had many, many times, not just with him, but with other African-Americans who continue to stay in the party, even though we are firmly and undeniably in the MAGA era. He's a senior fellow with the Commonwealth Foundation, a Pittsburgh native. He's been an op-ed writer, a political analyst, and a media staple on outlets from Radio New Zealand and Sirius XM to CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. Lenny McAllister has a brand new book, Venn diagram of one. Lenny McAllister, welcome.
Dominique, it's always good to talk to you, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you?
I am the same, and thank you for having me once again.
Indeed, indeed. So congrats on your book. I know that
Thank
it's
you, ma'am.
more than a notion. Getting a book published, getting a book written is a lot.
It is. It's also what you write. You know, what I've learned throughout the process now is there are plenty of people that write books and have nothing really to say. What I wanted, I mean, you and I both know this, right?
Yes, indeed. It comes with being on the radio.
Yeah, there you go. But what I really wanted to do was highlight some of the things that we can do to turn things around. I mean, to make sense even for people that would read a Venn diagram of one, to be able to look and say, oh, this is why this guy won't leave the Republican Party, even though the party is acting a particular way. He is true to his principles. He feels like he's in a fight for the next 20 years, not necessarily trying to be popular over the course of the next 20 minutes. And the book is the very first time in my life where I've had longer than an hour segment on the radio or my radio show in Pittsburgh or little segments on CNN and the like, where I've been able to explain my story, my principles, why I take stances where I do, and how people gravitate to those stances, even within the Republican Party, because as we well know, there are more and more people jumping off the MAGA ship, and they're going to be looking for a place to go again that is full of principled ideas and has principled leadership. I'm trying to provide that where I can.
Well, you said a lot right there. Since we're on origin stories, we were on hip hop origin stories earlier in the show today. What's your Republican origin story? What landed you there in the GOP, the grand old party?
The principles were always there as a Western Pennsylvania Democrat, conservative Democrat. In fact, my dad, who was a lifelong Democrat growing up in Pittsburgh, he switched his registration to Republican this year. Now, did he do it because he's a Donald Trump fan? No, don't even say Donald Trump around my dad and without him giving you a look and wondering if you have something wrong with you mentally. Why he changed to the party is because, one, he said, look, we've always had these principles. Number two, we need other people representing the Republican Party that are not on the fringe and doing some of the things that have been detrimental to this country. And he wants to see a change back to what he saw. He was a big Frederick Douglass person. He got us on the Frederick Douglass when we were young. He wants to see it go back to that vein. Now, did I expect an 84-year-old to switch registrations? No. But my origin story in switching because of those values lead to people like that, including, believe it or not, I'm his namesake, my dad. him doing that as well. And I've heard plenty of stories like that from people that have been in the Tea Party movement to conservative, moderate Republicans saying we need somebody that really understands principles, not just going along for the MAGA train.
I mean, of course, when I hear that story, I hear, a lot of things. One of them is Lenny McAllister convinced his dad to switch over to the Republican Party.
I did not. No, here's the thing, Dominique. This is a guy, you got to understand, 20 years earlier, this guy walked 2.5 miles in the rain to vote for Barack Obama because his car wouldn't start. This guy was not thinking about switching parties, and I hadn't even tried to even convince him to switch parties. That was not something I thought I should even do. In fact, much of the work that I do is not to tell people to switch parties or vote carte blanche for the Republican Party. My goal was to show principles, be principled in my leadership, and then show how to love people through leadership. Dr. Cornel West was here in Pittsburgh just last week, and he and I always have a good time when we interact with each other. And one of the things he's always said is you've got to love the people you want to lead. And that always stuck with me ever since I met him at State of the Black Union, actually out in Los Angeles in 2009. I've tried to take that ethos and let that be part of my public life always. I think those examples, those type of sentiments are the ones that might get somebody to switch political parties. But I'm much more focused on that than I am ever focused on, hey, can I see your registration card?
Yeah, and speaking of Dr. West, he'll be on this radio station next hour, so that there's something to look forward to. I get that, and when I hear black Republicans like yourself talking about Frederick Douglass, of course we all love Frederick Douglass, the formerly enslaved person who rose to be at the highest levels of power and influence and intellectual vigor in this country and globally. And black Republicans love to say he was a Republican. Yeah, but back then, Republicans were not the racist party. Today, the Republican Party is the party of white supremacy. So it's like saying, well, yeah, I'm team horse and buggy. Okay, are you going to take your horse and buggy on the freeway? That's not what we're doing now. That's not what the Republican Party even is now. So to me, that's it's almost like intellectually dishonest when black Republicans say, oh, yeah, we're the party of Douglass. We're the party of Douglass.
I understand where you can come from with that. And I do think, to be fair, a lot of black Republicans put their arms around Lincoln and Douglas and say, see, we're the party of this. When I bring up Frederick Douglass, I bring up the spirit of pushing back. Agitate. And that means you push back against injustice regardless of where you see it. Folks that will go buy a Venn diagram of one, and you can get it audiobook, ebook, or hardcover, they'll see me pushing back directly to Vice President Mike Pence on stage, eye to eye, about the coded language of law and order during 2020. They'll hear me push back in print with a statement against Donald Trump in 2016 when he was playing with the idea of nationalizing stop and frisk. How I cast aside a lot of different things as a Republican to try to remind people of what true Republican values are. That's the true spirit of Frederick Douglass. Agitating and being in position where you can push back with a sense of moral authority and history to get people on the right track. If you're just claiming Douglas or Lincoln or MLK used to be a Republican and then you don't live that life, then you're a fraud. The one thing I'm trying to do is not live my life publicly and privately as that partisan political fraud. And I think that a Venn diagram of one has enough stories from my life to illustrate that I live the life that I profess.
Lenny McAllister is my guest, and we are on the topic of black Republicans, most especially in my view, in the MAGA era. Black Republican MAGA era. Make it make sense. Lenny McAllister will try. That's what he's doing. And you're invited in if you'd like to comment or have a question at 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, This is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Women's Leadership Project is a Black feminist mentoring, civic engagement, and advocacy program. We have rallied, marched, and disrupted in front of the unaccountable Marquise Harris Dawson's office for several years now. We have gone down to City Council and City Hall and spoken truth to power to try and get resources and protection and funding for Black girls and Black women in this city who are only 4.3% of the population in this community, yet we are disproportionately victimized by sex trafficking, sex violence, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence. We have met numerous times with the unaccountable MIA trifling Marquise and his deputies, and he has turned tail and run. We have tried to meet and give a proposal to Destination Crenshaw to step up and hold space and provide protections for our youth in the Crenshaw district area, because there are no safe youth spaces in City Council District 8 in the Crenshaw corridor.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're waking up with me, but also Lenny McAllister. He's the author of A Venn Diagram of One, An American Story. It's a memoir, I suppose. It's a memoir, and it's very, very relevant to the conversation today about how does a black person, especially one who, as Lenny McAllister just mentioned, lives his life by a set of principles, how do they remain in the MAGA party of today? Even if you don't vote for Donald Trump, now the Republican Party is clearly the party of white supremacy, and it's not just hyperbole. I mean, we're talking about pardoning the people who stormed the Capitol and tried to overturn election results, who threatened to lynch the vice president. It's not subtle at this point. And we're talking about an administration who has admitted not one single black refugee since taking office. The racism in the party is not subtle anymore. How does that square with the principles that you live by, that you describe in a Venn diagram of one?
Well, I will go with two things, and there's two separate things. I'll talk about the book second, but I'll answer your question first, Dominique. And again, I appreciate being on, and everybody that's willing to buy the book, ebook, audiobook, hardcover. America is a history of second acts. And I don't want to do a whataboutism, but we can very easily ask, why did African Americans flood the Democrat Party to become elected officials in the 1960s, literally in the shadows of 100 years of Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klan running the Democrat Party in most sections of the country, including Indiana and the Midwest, as well as the South, where a lot of our people have come from, including a lot of Angelenos. The bottom line is we have to play the long game. We have to stick to our principles and make sure that both parties are meeting our needs. And when they don't, there has to be change agents that are inclined to stay where they are and make sure that we bend history back towards justice. That's just how that is. We've seen it happen before on multiple occasions. We have to go through that era today. That's part of what my role is in my career. Now, back to a Venn diagram of one, it's more than just a political book or a public policy book. In fact, I would argue that it's more of a love story. I mean, I talk a lot about what my parents overcame as a couple that first met when they were 12 years old and how they had to overcome racism in the 50s and the 60s to go from C students at a urban school to raising 3 college graduates. I definitely think it's a black love story, talking about the bond that my wife and I have as she overcame domestic violence, as we both overcame being college dropouts, for me to graduate from Davidson and for her to graduate as an honor student with a biology degree at 53. There's something to be said about living your principles that say so much more than partisanship. And for those that are looking for the political or partisan aspects of a Venn diagram of one, they will see critiques both of the Republican Party but also of the Democrat Party, because the book is about values and getting back to a certain American way of life, regardless of our ethnic backgrounds. It's a lot more about that and those type of stories of hope than it is about partisanship and why somebody should vote this way or that way.
Well, we can boil it down to partisanship, but there's also a reality here. So are you saying that you think that black people or black people of principle, let me qualify that, will flood back into the Republican Party? Are you saying that that's something that you would like to see? Would like to see us reversing that exodus from the Republican Party and reversing the balance within the party itself?
No, what I'm talking about is I want black people, and let's talk specifically about our folks, our people. I want black people to fully enjoy security, empowerment, and opportunity once again in America, and have that in a way where they can enjoy those rights fully. Now, if that empowerment means they stay Democrats, I still love them as children of God, and we still got to find a way to work together, and we will. If that empowerment means that they consider voting for one Republican candidate, 5 Republican candidates, a bunch of Republican candidates, so be it on that as well. We still have to work together and love each other. Again, a Venn diagram of one is not a book to persuade people to become Republicans. It's nothing of the sort.
Right.
It is a book that encourages people to go find their values and their empowerment once again, so that we can start healing our country and then find the best ways to be able to make the country better.
Understood. The topic that I chose for today is the mystery of the Black Republican under the MAGA world. So I'm not meaning to imply that that's what your book is about.
I understand.
But certainly, we want to let people know about the book. And you keep referencing these principles and morals, really, that you have. And you said that your father referenced when he was explaining what made him come back and register as a Republican in the middle of the Trump era. That's baffling to me. What are those principles?
Well, I think those principles, number one, are empowerment. And let me clarify my dad's position. He was less saying that he was leaving the Democrat Party because he thinks they're kooks. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is there are too many people that have lost their ethics and their moral compass in the Republican Party. He sees his position as a Catholic of over 50, 60 years as being one that does align with many things that the Republican Party does. Being a pro-business individual, even at 84 years old, he sees that as well. But he also sees a need for balance. And he's saying that there's no more balance from the Republican Party. He's seen me profess that level of balance and stick to those principles over the course of 20 years, and that's what persuaded him to switch. Less about trying to make a judgment of the Democrat Party, but making a judgment in regards to the lack of balance that we as black people have politically moving forward. So I want to make sure I clarify that, because it's not as though he was making a to the Democrats when he made that move.
No, yeah,
but
I wasn't.
Back to your point in regards to...
I wasn't implying that your dad was saying we were kooks, but what you referenced was the foundational, the foundational moral compass or the foundational principles that you live your life by, which you have described in your book and which your dad says he's lived his life by. And so I'm trying to figure out what those are and where they are to be found within the Republican Party. I mean, it's hard for me to even imagine, and I understand you're saying you can change it from within, but at the same time, if we just forget about partisanship and we forget about even like our platforms and we just look at the grifting alone, the corruption alone within the party at this moment, I don't know what moral principle does that line up with?
But here, because this is what's happening, Dominique. You're combining me saying I'm living by certain principles, and that's the reason why I'm a Republican. I might be a Republican because of certain public policy positions. You and I disagree on the whole school choice aspect, but that's one of them. That might be something. Principles are nonpartisan issues.
You mean the school privatization issue? Yeah.
Well, see, we disagree on that. We're not going to go down there, but we love each other.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
when it comes to principles are nonpartisan. I've never ascribed to saying that the only way you can have a moral compass is if you're a conservative and thus you're a Republican. I know that there are people that say that. I have never ascribed to that. God doesn't walk around with a MAGA hat on. So, and wasn't a Republican before we got to this point in time. So the point is there are certain principles that we should live as Americans that allow us to move forward with what we do on a daily basis. And then from there, we can each determine what political party, or if there are other than the big two, that match our values. Then we move forward with that and belong to that party and try to do the best we can to mold it with our actions.
We only have a minute before news, traffic, and sports, so you may have to answer this more on the other side. But I understand what you're saying. Principles are nonpartisan. Sounds good. It's very catchy. I love that. However, certain principles are, pretty scarce in the GOP right now, and one of them is honesty. Straight
I agree
up
with that.
Non-prevarication. So how does an honest person stay in that environment?
With prayer and persistence. That's a pretty short answer. We can get to that before the commercial break.
That's a very short answer. LennyMcAllister.com. That's where they find the book, right? LennyMcAllister.com.
They can go there. They can go to Barnes & Noble. They can go to Amazon. Wherever books are sold, you can get it ebook, audiobook, hardcover, a Venn diagram of one, an American story, wherever books are sold.
Lenny McAllister's here. We're talking Black GOP, Black MAGA, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Justice Department says nearly a dozen people have been arrested in an alleged sham marriage scheme involving Chinese nationals.
This is one of the largest marriage fraud prosecutions in United States history.
Attorney General Todd Blanche claims the operation arranged more than 1,000 fraudulent marriages in exchange for payments, helping participants obtain green cards through fake relationships. A Denver City Council proposal to begin meetings with an acknowledgement of slavery and forced labor remains on hold. The measure has been tabled for a second time, with council members expected to revisit the issue in late September. And a GoFundMe has been launched for the widow of actor Malcolm Jamal Warner. Organizers say Tanisha Warner has faced financial challenges since his death and is currently involved in a legal dispute over the late actor's estate and family trust. Get BIN News now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A couple of side notes regarding the $12.5 billion purchase of the Lakers by Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Kushner is the brother of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Lakers owner Mark Walter is facing a federal investigation for alleged tax fraud involving two insurance companies that he owns. The investigation could be a factor in Walter's decision to sell the Lakers. The sale has to be approved by the NBA Board of Governors. The next owners' meeting is in September in New York City. Russell Westbrook, one of the most productive and dynamic guards in NBA history, announced his retirement. The LA native played 11 of his 18 seasons with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Westbrook was a 9-time All-Star and holds the record for most career triple-doubles with 209. He also has the single-season record for triple-doubles with 42 in 2016 and 17, the year he was voted MVP. Westbrook will be a first-ballot Hall of Famer in 2031. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Classes in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
KBLA
Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe. You're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
He is an author, a senior fellow at the Commonwealth Foundation, a pundit, and his new book is A Venn Diagram of One, an American Story. Lenny McAllister joins me this morning, speaking on the mystery of black Republicans in the MAGA era. And you, going back to these principles, you said these values, you said empowerment. What else?
Security, empowerment, and opportunity. And these are things that, let's just be real, Republicans used to stand for a long time ago. Constitutional protections. You know, one of the things I talk about with security is security of self, security of citizenship. Are you an equal citizen? And then security of potential. Do you have the same opportunity to fulfill your potential in America than others do? That's something we don't do as much as Republicans anymore. And you talked about the grifting. Grifting goes back to the whole prospect of, I'm going to get something just because I'm connected to power. It's the same thing with the DEI, quote unquote, didn't earn it. Well, what was Jim Crow? It was one set of people getting advantages over a different set of people, and those individuals got the advantages that they didn't earn. They got it by way of racist laws. That security has to be put back in place. We start talking about empowerment through education, entrepreneurialism, and not just making a business, Dominique, but being able to reinvent yourself, being entrepreneurial with your personal brand on a regular basis. Do you have the empowerment to do that? Many people, oftentimes, they want power for themselves. Again, let's go back to the grifting. If I can get power for myself, I don't care if you're empowered. If you're truly about constitutional protections, if you're a constitutional conservative, you want every American to have constitutional protections to be empowered, not just have power over them. Again, these are things that constitutional conservatives say that they're about until you watch how they've been over the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, I would argue longer than that, but I understand what you're saying. It's more blatant now. But among the values, I don't see justice. I don't see equity or equality. I don't see truthfulness. I don't see compassion. I don't see fairness. I don't see a lot of the things that, I would think of as, from my perspective, as a progressive patriot. I don't see, to me, those are American values. Also,
they
U.S.
are,
American values. But you don't list those. You list empowerment, security, and opportunity, which, that could be, President Bukele's list.
If you're secure in your citizenship, you cannot have the wool pulled over your eyes. You cannot have the law put against you. If you're empowered through education, you not only know the laws, but you know yourself. If you're empowered as an American citizen, you're going to be entitled and you're going to have access to the truth. You're going to be treated fairly. You're going to have justice. You can't be empowered.
So we don't. So justice is implied. Equality and equity is implied. We just have to say it's included. But don't you think, given what's happening in our country today, and actually some of the atrocities on which it stands, we need to explicitly state that justice and equality are, in fact, not just equality, but equity are, in fact, values, morals that we intentionally stand on?
At the risk of sounding like a salesman, my dear sister, it's in a Venn diagram of one. I do lay that out in the book. I'm not trying to sound like a salesman with that.
Hopefully you're selling some books.
Yeah, the themes are, yes. You have the thematic themes of security, empowerment, and opportunity. But as I break down, whether people listen to it on audiobook or read it ebook or hardcover, they'll see me talk about those very specific things and talk about how when you get away from the grander themes, those other things can't be there for everybody. So in order to make sure that there are certain protections for everybody, including the injustice that we're referring to, including the fracturing of the truth that we've seen over time, you have to get back to those principles. So, yes, they are specifically called out. Civil rights,
even
equality,
honesty.
equity. Honesty
is that one of them. I mean, I'm thinking about Carolyn Levitt, right? She's stepping down from her job at the tender age of 28 to quote unquote spend time with her family, which means zero because everyone says that all the time, always. But I mean, this person is highly successful and rose to the top of the Republican Party in this moment that we're in. Not that she's black, but it's to me, it's emblematic of where the party is at. And she blatantly lied all day long. Like when the truth would do, just lie. How can a person of principle affiliate with a group that's, I understand this impulse to reform, but if people are lying every day and one of my core values is honesty, I don't want to be around those people.
Well, there's two things to that. Number one, in the book, I am honest even when I had flaws. So, for example, my dad's shooting. I talk about the tensions he and I had just 2 weeks prior. I talked about the mess that my life was as far as not following up on my potential, not doing the things I needed to do in the moment right before he was shot. I talk about other instances of being a college dropout, going from an Ivy League school at the South to being a deli clerk making $4 an hour. That level of honesty in regards to this is where I was allows people to see the vulnerability of being honest with themselves and moving forward. But back to the other point that you mentioned in regards to reform. This country is built on people to find a way to reform the things that they see that are broken. How has it been working out for African Americans in the ruby red South when we don't have access to a level of political balance? How has it worked out when Republicans run all three branches of government at the federal level? I'm sitting in Washington, D.C. right now. How has it played out for those that did not want the National Guard here without having some sane voices speaking up for constitutional values that they profess that they stand up for, but they don't live out in principle? The bottom line is there are some of us that simply do not have the option of walking away from doing the hard work. Now, we may get critiqued for it along the way, but I'm trying to be historic, not trendy. That means I'm going to have to take some of these bows and arrows coming at me. I'm going to have to take some of the slurs sometimes coming at me because I got to, as I'm leading and as I'm doing what I'm doing, I talk about this in a Venn diagram of one, I got to love people more than they may like me in the moment because that's what leadership's all about.
Oh, boy. Okay, I hear you. I mean, those are choices that we make. So is your ultimate vision that more and more people of principle, presumably black people of principle, will become more and more influential in the party? Because when I look at the Republican Party now, which seems to be under the full headlock of, Trumpism, I don't see those dissident voices being successful at all. Even with the confirmation of Todd Blanche, we heard lame duck senators who have already been primaried by the president, or at the president's behest, still falling in line and voting for this guy who's clearly said out of his own mouth that he's the president's personal lawyer and has clearly said out of his own mouth that he intends to go after people for their political proclivities and continues to be an election denier. They said they weren't going to confirm him, but in the end they did. In the end, they all caved. So I don't see where there's any room in the party. I don't see where there's any space for any kind of debate, dissonance, or even slight conversation that does not support the absolute monarchy of the resident, as I like to call him.
Well, you and I have talked about this story before. I have to live and work for the America we want 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, not just today.
Right.
I told you this story. I told you this story before. I was working with the Reverend. I told you this story. I was working with the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., who said this same exact thing to me in 2013 and said, Lenny, you are a good Republican and you're a good man, but your party is more concerned about Confederacy than they are about democracy. They're never going to change. And I said, Reverend, out of all due respect, when you went to college in the 1960s, Jim Crow was around for 100 years. You kept going to libraries that they arrested you for. You kept getting arrested going to bathrooms and to restaurants. and they told you, Jesse, what are you doing? All you're going to do is get yourself hit upside the head. They're never going to change. I came to North Carolina to go to college 20 years later. I can go to any library I wanted to, any restaurant I wanted to, and any restaurant I wanted to. Things don't change until they change. And even the progressive two-time presidential nominee said, Mr. Lenny, you have a point.
Okay,
some of us got to put that work in.
So, I mean, you have a point. I'm not sure what the point is. In Jesse Jackson's case, even in the 60s, they were making progress. There was evidence that something could be salvaged or something could be moved. I'm not seeing it. I see the corruption doubling down. I see the white supremacy amping up. I see the oligarchy settling in and digging its teeth in. Keep hope alive, I guess is what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying. I mean, the bottom line is, Dominique, some of us have to do the work where we are. And it doesn't make it doesn't make it comfortable. It doesn't mean I coalesce. It doesn't mean I agree. But it does mean that there are times I'm going to be uncomfortable speaking a truth when I'm speaking it alone. It literally says that on the back cover of a Venn diagram of one. There are people that have seen me do this over the course of 20 years. There are stories of me doing that over the course of 20 years. And yes, it might take a while, but and I'm not just saying about African Americans, because again, one, the book is not just for black people, but it is written from an African American perspective, and two, it's not just a political book. But with those two things in mind, we have to have more access to everybody in government, everybody that writes laws, everybody that has their fingerprints on the way we live our lives in modern-day America. And in order to do that, you have to have some sensibilities, you have to have some compassion, and some respect for constitutional rights for all Americans emanating from both sides of the political spectrum. I'm doing my part for the America that I want to see for my children and my grandchildren, much less in contemporary times, and they shift sooner than later.
David McAllister is my guest. As usual, you're invited in if you have something to say, a question or conversation. Oh, they are going at it in the YouTube chat. If you want to hop in there, that's a KBLA 1580 on YouTube.com. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and this is KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Don't let heartburn ruin your day. Quick, Alka-Seltzer. When that burning feeling comes on strong, stop, drop, and fizz your way to quick relief with Alka-Seltzer Heartburn Relief. Nothing works faster to help calm heartburn, so you can get back to the moments that matter most. Alka-Seltzer begins neutralizing acid in seconds. Try Alka-Seltzer for fast heartburn relief, because life doesn't stop, and neither should you.
Quick, Alka-Seltzer.
Use as directed.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Greg Doolin, and I'm a second-generation restaurant owner. My family started with a little hamburger stand in 1975. I have been in the community as the owner of Doolin's on Crenshaw since 1992, and because I've been here so long, I know what the community wants, and I know what they wanted. And so I tried my best to build the most beautiful restaurant that I could, which is across the street, Doolin's on Crenshaw, a space where people can do all the things that we like to do. And it's very lonely, because we are the only business open at night, and I'm seeing my fellow restaurant owners go through all types of trouble. You know, you've probably all seen it in the news, and I'm having my challenges. And the way Destination Crenshaw impacts me, I'm on Crenshaw more than most people. I'm here at 5 in the morning, and I'm here at midnight. And I look down the street, and I see my neighbors parking their cars up on the sidewalk. When I'm at work, and I see my senior customers struggling to walk down to my restaurant from Victoria with canes and with walkers. That's what impacts me.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Talking with Lenny McAllister. He is a political pundit. He's a senior fellow with the Commonwealth Foundation and the author of a Venn diagram of one. He also happens to be a black Republican. And I'm trying to understand. I've never quite fully understood, although I actually do have some friends and colleagues who are Republicans, what the draw is. And I understand what you just said. We have to work where we are. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone can stay in their lane. On the other hand, my friend Jazz Mechanic, who is a delegate in the LA County Democratic Party, makes an interesting point too. When we hear some black people talking about leaving the Democratic Party, not to run to the Republican Party, but to find a third party, which would be more in alignment with the needs and aspirations of black people in this country. And she says, I like to be where the black people are, and the black people are in the Democratic Party. What do you say to that?
I can be with black people and be with all different types of people, and not necessarily align on one aspect of my identity. And I think it's one of the things that, unfortunately, black Republicans have stuck on their foreheads and worn more than anything else, which is they use it as their identity. That's not my identity. That is part of what I do. That is an aspect of who I am, but it is not the identity of who I am. I'm a child of God. I'm an American. I'm a black man. In fact, I'm a black man before I'm an American. And as a result, I have to act from that first. Now, obviously, there are going to be certain policy positions that I gravitate towards as a Republican, certain policy issues that I'm going to believe in, and I will articulate them. But even with that, there's a way to articulate those principles without doing it with the animus that we do see from Republicans, and sometimes, let's just be fair, from some black Republicans when they're talking to the black community. That's not leadership either. So, yes, I like being where black folks are. I make sure I am where black folks are. But you can do that more than just where black folks are politically. The bottom line is we're supposed to be there for our communities regardless of, being Catholic versus being Muslim versus being Jewish. It would be the same with political parties, and then fighting for the things that people need with the political philosophies that you think will work best short-term and long-term, and pushing back where you need to.
My apologies, Lenny. I do not think your name is David. Apparently, I was rushing. But Lenny McAllister is my guest. And a couple things you touched on that I would like to follow up on. We only have a few minutes here. One of them is the civility question. And, okay, I'll give you that. There are some, impolite, to put it mildly, Democrats. But the sort of crassness, the boorishness, the insults, the hurling of insults has been popularized by the current resident of the White House. And I wonder if we can put that genie back in the bottle politically, regardless of where you are on the spectrum.
Yes, we can. I mean, in the 1970s, you and I grew up in the 70s, and people thought that détente was a way of life for the rest of our existence, and that the United States had lost its way. By the 1980s, we were celebrating the '84 Summer Olympics in L.A., and jobs started coming back into the economy, and within 10 years, the Soviet Union didn't exist anymore. For 100 years, we were told that black folks were inferior, and they were going to have separate but equal, and we'll just make it more equal, even though it's still going to be separate. And then 20 years after legislation was passed in the 1960s, we have Barack Obama. So do I think that
I don't know if those examples are historically my analysis, but I understand your point. Things change.
The point is, the grossest of injustices, we have found ways to get past. Not completely get past from time to time. And yes, have there been regressions? Absolutely, and it's shameful. But the question you asked was, do I believe that this genie can be put back in the bottle? I do believe with the right type of leadership, and I'm not saying Republican leadership or Democratic leadership, but I am talking about the type of leadership that I do talk about in a Venn diagram of one, which supersedes partisanship. With that type of leadership from everyday people, I do think that much of what's dividing us and in essence, really hampering our existences collectively, I do think can be put back in the bottle. I do think we can find a better way.
And then, you talked about at the beginning of the conversation, you said your book, Venn Diagram of One, is a black love story, or a story of black love, and you referenced your wife. And my colleague at this radio station, John Wood Jr., is also a black Republican. And I said one time on the air that I think he's the only black Republican I know with a black wife. Maybe I know
Not
two.
anymore.
Now I know two.
You know two at least. At least.
And I say that not just to be a smart aleck, but also because I think there is a perceived rejection of our blackness, and certainly our black women, in the embracing of today's Republican Party, all the way down to hundreds of thousands of black women being pushed out of their jobs by this, the fake outrage over DEI.
Listen, you love who you love. I get that, and I want everybody to go to heaven. As a Christian, that's where I sit. But as a black man,
you want everybody in there with you? Okay.
Well, because what's the alternative? I can't even imagine what hell is, so I don't want to wish that on anybody. But that said, I have a unique, special, respectful, and very vibrant love for my black wife. And that ain't going away. And there have been instances where I've had to push back on people that have been surprised that I've been more than willing to express that level of love and respect for my soulmate, my best friend, and my gorgeous wife, which she can be all three of those things at the same exact time on a regular basis. And I know that generally speaking, they're not used to black Republicans walking around with a sister on their arm that they're still opening the door for. But that's also part of the reason why I wrote a Venn diagram of one, to show folks that political affiliation is not your principles. They're not your values. They're not your way of life. Ideally, those things project back into your partisanship, which is why I keep saying, folks, go read the book, go listen to the book. You'll see it's much more than just this black Republican talking about being a black Republican. It's about living a certain life, trying to get back to values that have worked for us over time, and then saying, well, I've done these things as a black Republican, which is much different than saying, hey, I'm a black Republican, look at me.
Well said. Remind them one last time as we run out the clock here about how to find your brand new book, A Venn Diagram of One.
You can go to Barnes & Noble. You can go to Amazon. You can order it through Target or Walmart. You can buy it wherever books are sold, ebook, audiobook, hardcover. A Venn Diagram of One, An American Story by Lenny McAllister. You can also go to my website, lennymcallister.com. I will be on The Takeout with Major Garrett this evening. I will be on MS Now with Michael Steele, who wrote one of the co-forwards to the book. I will be on with him tomorrow night, Friday night, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. As well, I'll be on with Newt Gingrich next week as well on his podcast. So, Dominique, I want you to get a copy. I want you to read it and read what I'm talking about, the memoir aspect of it.
We got to leave it there, though, because it's time to pass the mic. But thank you so much, and I absolutely will. I always appreciate the conversation.
God bless you.
Dr. Cornel West, Niambi Carter, and many, many more featured next hour. You don't want to miss it. I'm Dominique DiPrima, like my mama, the late, great Diane DiPrima used to say in her poem called Rant, the ultimate famine is the starvation of the imagination. Until tomorrow, my KBLA delegation with our Freedman Friday reparations conversation. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Justice Department says nearly a dozen people have been arrested in an alleged sham marriage scheme involving Chinese nationals.
This is one of the largest marriage fraud prosecutions in United States history.
Attorney General Todd Blanche claims the operation arranged more than 1,000 fraudulent marriages in exchange for payments, helping participants obtain green cards through fake relationships. A Denver City Council proposal to begin meetings